John Adams. Whoa,
Brent
baby.
Brockemeyer, it's nice to meet you again.
Yeah, good to meet you. By the way, what the heck? TaylorMade dumps DJ just on the
Yeah,
day of
it's
our
not.
podcast?
It's not. I didn't see them going further with him anyways. He's got no exposure. I mean, you
No,
get
that's
no
the
exposure.
problem, right?
I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprising if a lot of other guys are on their last leg or their numbers have been cut
Well, I
over
need
there.
to reach out to Chris Rasmussen, who we had on episode 50, who is the captain of the Four Aces, DJ's team, and see if I can get some scoop. But also, if you're making $200 million, like I don't think you're worried about your club deal.
And you're not playing good in majors, so you're
No,
not getting good exposure there too. I mean,
no,
I
no.
tell you, I think Liv is actually on. And again, you might have to ask Chris about this, but I think if they can't re-sign um, DeChambeau
Yeah.
and God,
Bryce, um,
you don't know anybody over there anymore. Kepka
Bryson
and
and
Kepka.
Kepka. Yeah, Bryson and Brooks.
That's a
Yeah,
lot, and all these contracts are getting up now. These were 4 or 5 year contracts, and now
yeah,
it's getting there where they have to re up. And if they don't get re upped, right, they're coming out. Like there's a Spanish guy that came out
yeah,
and just said they promised me this, and this, and I'm not getting any of that. And
yeah.
so, I'm paying my money back or whatever to get, try to qualify for the because I want to play in Ryder Cups and all this kind of stuff's going down right now. And you got a guy like Phil that's just going to sit back and just be a playing captain and
Is
be a
that is that
YouTube kind of
is that a
guy.
fact? I heard that too. Is that
Yeah,
real?
they just brought in another player. They just
Yeah,
brought it on his team, right?
yeah.
And then so then you're looking at guys like Bubba Watson
Yeah.
and Graham McDowell, who's just is going to go away, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on because they're not welcome back here. So does that mean if you want to stay competitive, you got to go to Asia, right?
Well,
To
but then
play.
the report came out 2 days ago that said that the PGA Tour Live connection buy-in from the Saudis was now within the next quarter. They said that was going to happen. So that's the latest thing I saw. I don't know if
But
that's
I,
true or
I
not.
but the PGA Tour guys are making so much money right now, right?
Are they
And
though? Are
I
they?
well, with these no cut elevated events, and really, to be honest with you, the elite guys only have to really beat like 30
Let's look.
guys or 40
Let's
guys.
let's look.
I just think the
And
guys like Tiger and Spieth and all these kind of guys are really just pushing this thing out. Just let's give it another month. Let's give it. But now, you get an interview yesterday with Adam Scott, and he's talking about, hey, I just had a meeting with the president, and now we're looking at it's a DOJ thing.
ooh, I didn't hear about that. What is that all about?
Well, it's they're going to the president to try to get this thing accelerated, like you said, I possibly a first quarter. But
Yeah.
I just think it's some of these tour guys are making so much money that they just keep pushing it away because I don't really think they wanted to come together.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. All right, let's see. So official money PGA Tour. Well, this year it's so early, but it's 3 million, 2 million, 2 million, whatever. Let's go to last year, 2024. I'm sure we have to take out Scheffler. So Scheffler made 29 million, which is one of the greatest seasons in tour history. Xander made 18, one of the greatest major seasons in tour history. Hideki 11, Wyndham 10, Rory 10, Ludwig 9. So no offense, that's not big bucks in the live world.
Well, no, no, because the live world, you're making more majority of your money on your agreement that you signed
Yes,
with,
yes,
right?
yes.
So, but
So,
what
I
I'm
mean,
trying to say is, you had $3 billion that came over from the SSG, right?
right,
And I have
yeah,
a lot of feeling, a lot of that went to those top tier players to say, hey, thanks for staying here,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
But what I just don't see that. I just don't know if this whole framework. Again, I go back to it. What are we now? Like we're going to be pushing 2 years here, and there's
yeah,
still no framework together. So something other than the DOJ
yeah.
or whoever it is politically that's keeping this thing delayed. But I just really don't see that these PGA Tour guys are wanting to allow this whole thing to happen. Now, on the flip side, that they have to be careful with is I don't think the big sponsors are wanting to sponsor any tour events
Well, they're
anymore.
leaving. Wells
Right,
Fargo's gone, and
right.
it's the ultimate problem. The PGA Tour has 20 good players, and that's it. And the people that are in the hunt are so boring now. The farmers were so boring. Like we're just not getting good talent out there. And so the numbers are way down for viewership. And the sponsors are way down. The money is out of control on Live. They're making $100 million a year, but nobody's watching it, which is why TaylorMade dropped DJ because no one's watching him play. What's the point? Not that he needs the money. So it really is the same story we started 2 years ago, which is professional golf sucks right now. Live is not watchable, but has all the stars. PGA Tour has very few stars, but it's not that fun to watch either. So I don't know where it's going, but it is in a sorry state. And I guess if I had to feel sorry for somebody, it'd be the PGA Tour guys who stuck it out because they, even if they're doing a little bit of profit sharing, and I think we saw that, they said they give Tiger 25 million or whatever, and the next guy 15 million, and Rory 11 million or whatever. That's great, but to have to kind of buy out your players just to keep them happy, this is not a sustainable thing because the PGA Tour, I don't think they're making money right now. I think they're losing money right now.
No, I think
Yeah,
they're having now to suck some of that SSG stuff,
yeah,
right? And
yeah.
and then as an agent, right, you would know this. Why, like you going out and trying to find brands to sponsor your guy, and you're
No,
like, where's your guy going to play? And you're
yeah,
like, well, he's going to have a little bit of this and a little bit of
yeah.
that. I mean, so those guys, other than the Justin Thomases of the worlds and the Spieth of the world, but I look at the results of the Farmers Insurance, right?
Oh God, help me.
Which Torrey Pines, right? Great
Yeah.
golf course, and I think it's going to show its teeth this week because it's going to be very wet, and wet Kikuya
Is
is a
Genesis this
nightmare.
week?
Yes,
Oh
yes,
wow, they're gonna
yeah.
get crushed
This
down
is the
there.
last part of the west, yeah, of the
Yeah,
Western Swing.
yeah, they're getting
But
crushed.
Harris English, a name, somewhat of a name, right? I mean,
Snoozer. Yeah,
okay, I know,
snoozer.
but I mean,
Yeah,
people know him.
yeah,
Sam Stevens, Evan Novak, Chris Ventura, Hayden Springer,
exactly.
Taylor Pendrith, Will
Yeah,
Gordon, Joel Damon, Grayson Sigg, Lee Hodges, Danny Willett. I mean, what?
yeah,
Like, yeah, like
yeah,
you're
yeah,
farmers, and you're like,
yeah.
hey, PGA Tour, you got to figure something out because this is brutal. And you
Mm-mm.
need CBS. CBS. Jim Nance did it from the he did it from the football stadium in
Yeah,
Buffalo,
I
right? It's
know.
just
I know.
look at golf in a whole, right? Because I'm in the golf
Big
business.
hole. Big
But in the
hole.
golf in a whole is it's
Yeah,
the PGA show was happening. I mean,
yeah,
it was
yeah,
happening. It
yeah,
was crowded all
yeah.
the way until like noon on Friday. And I always judge the show on how was your Friday from 8 in the morning to 12 noon. If you were
Yes.
busy, the show's good, right? I mean, you're not hearing tape
Because
guns.
non-pro golf is out of control. Every club has a 2 year wait to get in or a 5 year wait. Like golf is at its height for civilians, but the pros
Correct.
are boring us to tears. No one's watching it. No one's making money. And, it really, they're screwing this up. I mean, I think, yes, the live was crazy and exciting for a while, but the PGA Tour immediately should have said co-branded events, like all our guests have said over the last year.
So I guess the whole thing is, I guess my question is, did Liv screw this all up? Did they screw it all up by starting their own
No,
tour
because
and buying
Live
players?
filled a hole, and so
What was the hole that they filled?
they filled a hole where uh, they could create their own league and create a lot of drama and pay a lot of money. And it's the same thing in college sports right now. College sports realized, hey, let's just start paying these kids like they're pros, and we're going to explode the model. And college sports is in a horrible state right now. You
So
know what
would
I
it have
mean?
been so would the tour be better if the Saudis just came back and said, "Hey, we want to help fund your tour,
Yeah,
but we would like to have like maybe a couple of these little events off to the side instead of coming in and going, "Hey, I'm going to buy your players, I'm going to suck your players out of your tour, and I'm going
yeah.
to hurt your tour." I just think it would have been a little bit better if they would have said, "Hey, we want to get into golf in a big way. How can we be your partner,
Well,
and
that's
how
the
can we do
PJ.
this?"
That's the devil Monahan's fault by saying we'll never allow them back.
Right.
We'll never do that. Instead of saying, you know what, this will be fun. Let's start having once a month an event with Liv and us, and you guys have full membership on PGA Tour. You can come back whenever you want and back and forth, and then let's have fun with it. That would have saved it. But Monahan, because he's making making 25 million a year. He doesn't care. He just said, no, you're all suspended. You never come back. And so people are like, great, I'll take my 300 million and leave. And, look, the PGA Tour, even though it had great players, it's not the top 10 sports in America. You know what I mean? Like it's a niche sport. It had a good following, but it was never the Super Bowl. It was never the World Series. It was, it never NBA. It'll never be that
Their
level.
Super Bowl is the Ryder Cup, right?
Yeah,
That's the
correct.
Super
And
Bowl,
even
right?
that doesn't get viewership like Super Bowl, World Series, stuff like that, because not that many people are into golf, but it had a good niche and they just, this is the future. The future is people, starting new leagues, starting new things. I mean, I'm already hearing about the billionaires buying the college sports teams. So
Hmm.
going to a conference or a school and saying, look, I want 70% share of your team. I'll put in 500 million and I'm going
Hmm.
to own it. I mean, this is the future. College sports, as Saban keeps saying, is dead. And there's
Yeah.
no loyalty. It's a mercenary system. And it kind of, Live did kind of open the door to that, because Live showed you can start your own private entity and draw people over. I think the next thing is what my old boss, Don Yee, said and we had him on the podcast too, that someone is going to start a new league. Instead of NCAA, you're going to have a new league. And he tried to do this where it's like
Right.
6 teams and they don't go to school. They can get a trade, they can learn something, or they can just play football. And it's going to be like in the spring, opposite the fall. And, people are just, they're in it for the money now. I mean, some kid
Hmm.
just said the other day he went to Georgia instead of Texas or vice versa. And he was like, well, obviously they just offered me more money. So, Saban said that the NFL has more team unity and loyalty than college football right now. And I think it Live kind of opened the door to like, hey, why are we stuck in this old process? We can do whatever we want. I just wish they hadn't, hoard out the college sports, because not only with paying players, they leave every year, but now the roster reduction, all the teams have lost spots because they had to enter into the settlement, with Congress, I think it was. And so, I think they said 10,000 students this fall will be out of college sports because they don't have roster spots. And it's just kind of like we're missing the point. The amateur side is the purity. And so I feel like Live just kind of showed like, hey, if you throw money at people, you can get anything done you want.
And I think that what's great for college sports is I think these kids are going to stay in longer in school, right? And you're going to see them go more towards their junior because they're making more money as a junior in college than they would as a rookie in whatever sport they decided go play professional sports in.
Oh, and they're
That's
filing lawsuits.
yeah,
I think there's 36 lawsuits against the NCAA right now. And that kid won his suit for
yeah,
JUCO. That's a one-off deal, but
yeah.
he gets JUCO free, so he could
Yeah.
go. And I don't want to see a 29-year-old kid playing against my nephew who's 18. No, that's go turn pro if you can.
So let me ask you a question to get back to actually the live situation. I guess my question to you is this: if Liv decided to do a 72 hole, with a cut type of tournament, and even no cut maybe, but it's 4 rounds of
Yep.
just stroke play,
Yeah.
no team stuff, right? No team
Yes.
at all, right?
We talked about
Maybe
this. Yes.
once a
Yeah.
quarter, they would have a team event, right, or something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Kind of switch it up, right? Or maybe have a big match play event or
Yeah.
something like that, right?
Yeah.
I just think if they would have created a tour like that, I
Yeah.
think it would have more legs where more guys would
Yeah.
want to jump ship and go over and play.
And world ranking points. If you have 72
Right.
holes, and wait, you
100%.
said they're going no shorts on Live now. Is that correct?
I didn't know that. No,
Oh, I heard
I didn't know.
somebody told me they were going to go no shorts, or maybe kind of modify it a little bit, and also try to have more elevated-ish kind of events, because once you start having those, I bet you the world rankings will say, okay, well, you have these 6 events a year, 8 events a year, we're going to give those world ranking points. And then, but I also think what we're seeing besides Bryson and Brooks is that most of the skills of these players that are mostly older are going down because they're not
Yeah.
competing, and so they
Well, and
can't.
I wonder because of the amount of money that they signed
Yeah.
for, because they're a big
Yeah.
name, right?
Yeah.
What's the drive? Right,
Yeah.
you're signing for $100 million.
Yeah.
What's the real drive to try to go out and win? You're
No.
guaranteed money for last place. Like
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
no like, and that's why I have a feeling, other than a guy like DeChambeau and Kepka and maybe a couple of Rom, I just I really would like to see the statistics of when they have gone over to a PGA Tour event or a major and see how they've actually done. And I don't think the statistics are the best, to be
No.
honest with you, because they're playing in a kind of a I don't I say hit and giggle and it's not a hit and giggle, but they're playing in a freedom type of
Yes.
golf tournament
Yeah.
where they don't have to stress about missing a cut
No.
where you do on the tour, right? And I'm a big fan is if they would have just put 72 holes together,
Yeah.
stroke play,
Yeah.
and then randomly threw in the team thing and randomly maybe throw in a match play thing, I think the thing would have a lot of legs. And
Well, let me ask you this. Do
I
you
think
think
a
so?
guy like Fox would want to support that, right?
Do
And
you
show
think
that.
so? The Saudis have now agreed to buy in part of the PGA Tour. That's what we read, right?
Yeah.
So, do you think that means they want to merge live or they want to have both?
They
Live.
want to have, but they're still adamant
Okay.
in keeping their tour, right? But then
Okay.
putting 8 to 10, 12 tournaments together where these guys would all come together
So awesome. Yeah.
for more. I would think they would be playing more than these elevated events that the
Yeah.
PGA Tour is playing for, right?
Well, and I
But
think if you do that, honestly, because think about the names you just read from the farmers, like after the top 20, maybe even top 15, the PGA Tour stinks. And so you got all these young kids, old people coming out of retirement, who are having success because there's nobody else. So I think Liv would crush them. Not the top 4, 5, 6 guys, Xander and Scotty and Rory, but and Ludwig. But after that, I think they have more meat in Liv, and I think Liv might get fired up again playing against the tour guys, but we need to bring them back together because it's just such a snooze fest when I see guys who retired 15 years ago and then they came back because they easily can make the top 125. It's crazy. But I don't know what the
and
delay is.
let's go back to the tour, right? Because of the things they changed. And I had Kyle Morrison staying at my place in La Quinta when he was, because
Yeah,
his player hurt himself, so
yeah.
he's on
Alex Noren, yeah,
Alex Noren pulled a hamstring, so he's
yeah,
out for quite a while. So he's
yeah.
on Ches Reeves' bag, okay, down
Again,
in
Ches Reavie, perfect example. Guy who was
sponsors
great in the
exemption.
in the
Yeah,
90s,
yeah.
and he's
But
back
he
now.
was telling me that he goes, it's so important to play in these elevated events
Yeah,
because there is no cut, and
yeah,
even last place is actually paying us good amount of money.
yeah,
So if you
yeah,
can stay in the top 50, like
yep.
you're golden. Now, that being said, they have now reduced it from 125 to 100 that keep your
Okay,
card, right?
yeah,
So now you have 51
yeah,
to 125. So there's
yeah,
75 guys. You have 25 guys that come over from, well, now it's 20 guys that come over from the graduation from the Corn Ferry,
right,
right? So now you're at 95 guys. And then you have 10 that come over from um, the DP World Tour
DP,
that are
yeah,
exempt, right? So now
yeah,
you're at 205, right? So he goes, you have 205 guys
right,
trying to get into the top 50, sorry, 51 to 100 to keep their card. There's so many players of the Hayden Springers, Will Gordons, Grayson Siggs, Lee Hodges of guys. These guys are all battling for 51 to 100
right,
and then
right,
obviously trying to get hot in a couple tournaments to slide into 50, 49 or whatever. But it goes back to this whole thing that we've discussed back in the past. If you put this together with Live and PGA Tour, let's
right,
just say it's 80 guys.
yeah.
How does the guy from 81 to 100 try to slide into that 80th spot or that 70th? Is there a reshuffle after
Well, why
three?
would you want them? They're terrible. Like if the top 20 are the only good guys and the next 30 are mediocre, when you get to 80 and on, like this guy's got to be really bad and
Well,
unknown.
you
So,
got to put a carrot out in front of them. There's got to be, you can't just say these are the 80 guys and there's going to be for the whole entire year.
I mean, the
You got to
carrot
say after,
is get better.
well,
Like honestly,
exactly.
this is
But
the
if,
time.
but if you're grinding it out and you're playing better on the PGA Tour or the Live Tour or
Yeah.
whatever it is, you should have some type of carrot in front of you to where you can slide into that 80th spot. And so I think if you're going to say, give me 12 tournaments, okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say after three, there's a reshuffle. And then
Yeah.
there's another reshuffle, and then there's another reshuffle to allow these guys that are 81st to 90 to try to say, hey, I'm playing better than that guy that's 80th right now. I got to
Yeah.
be able to, just like they do after the Western Swing, right? So here we are. We just had the Western Swing. Well, it's this last week is this week here, which is sad situation that we'll get into a little bit about what happened at near Riviera,
Oh
and now
God,
they've
it's
had it
horrible.
put in. I think thank you to Torrey Pines for raising their hand and say, yeah, we'll bring it
Yeah.
down here for the whole deal, and they're going to raise a lot of money for the fire victims. That being said, after this week, it's a reshuffle, and
Yeah.
it's a big reshuffle. And if you're not in that reshuffle, you're you're in no man's land. You
Yeah.
are in no man's land. So it is, and you look at it, those guys that are in no man's land that are trying to get in the reshuffle, they have the Sony, they have the Amex, they have Torrey Pines. Other than that, they don't get in the AT&T. They don't get in Tiger's event unless they played very well and they have that
But
five
truthfully,
tournament
as
type of.
as just like a fan of good golf, like I feel for the young guys, and this has been the story since the beginning of time, but I don't really care that much. Like if there's some unknown dude who, is struggling, like you always have to make your way in golf. And PGA Tour, you got to go back to the fundamental issue, which is they are so screwed up right now with not bringing Live in, not partnering with them, not being fun to watch, a bunch of no names at the Farmers, like, and look, the no names are fantastic golfers on an amateur scale, but like to be the elite, the Rorys and the Scotties, like we just don't have that kind
Oh,
of
okay,
interest.
so here's my question for you. Do you think it's okay for these big names, Scotties, Scheffler, I'm sorry, Scheffler, but Schauffele's, Jordan Spieth, Thomas of the world? Do you think it's okay for them to, and Rory got kind of, he got pointed out there by Hoffman this
Yeah,
last couple of weeks about, yeah, I'm going to go to only play in 16 events.
yeah. Why wouldn't
You
you?
know,
Why wouldn't you? Yeah,
100%. Hey, look
yeah.
at that. Hey, I remember back in the day, Bruce Litsky would call the commissioner and say, how many do I have to play? They go, 12. He goes, I'll see you in 12 because I'm going to fish the other weeks.
Well,
Right. So,
Tiger would poach. He'd play the event before, and then he'd play that major, and then he'd play Jack's tournament and some of this stuff. But like, the problem is that they have too many events and they don't have enough good players. But the answer is get rid of the smaller events, which the Farmers apparently is a smaller event now. That's crazy, but it is. Get rid of those and make that a live PGA Tour event. And so again, dragging their feet, sponsors leaving, people are doing this. Now, the new rumors that we talked about briefly in the intro is that um, these live guys aren't going to renew their contracts. So explain to me what we talked about the other day. You said Sergio is one of the guys who's going to pay to get back to DP World Tour, European Tour. What the heck's that all about? I don't even
so that
understand
he can
that.
pay a fine of $2 million, which
Okay.
he did, right? He paid $2
Yeah.
million fine, and that gets him back into the DP World Tour to where he can play and try to gain. Now, here's what's crazy about what I heard. They ran the statistics on Sergio and the way that he's where his world ranking points are and where he stands. And if he had the same year as what he did on Live on the DP World Tour,
Yeah.
he would be number 6 on their team.
Yes. Yeah.
So they're like, uh-oh, like we got to worry about that kind of. So yeah, guys like Sergio and
So
some
did
of these
Sergio
guys,
pay that? Is that
uh-huh.
official?
Yeah, he
So
has to pay back
is
to
he
the DP
gone from
World Tour.
live or he's going to do both?
Both, I think.
That's what I thought too.
Or he's
Yeah.
going to be a captain only, and he can play on the DP World Tour,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a way out because he gets a piece of the action being a captain,
Yeah.
just
Well,
like
here's the
Phil would
flip
be.
side too with live, because let's say they have, 50, 60 outstanding golfers and maybe 20 of them are playing really good and the other 40 are like, I've got $100 million, whatever. But you get them inspired again. You get them playing against all the best in the world in big events on a stage on CBS or NBC or whatever. I think they get rejuvenated a little bit. I think DJ, if he ever came back, he might get fired up again. I don't know, but I feel
Yeah.
like,
I mean, you signed for $125 million. You got
yeah,
2 kids, and you just
yeah,
want to say, okay, I'm just going to play in what 15 a year. Like that's pretty. I mean, and by the way, when I do play, I'm going to be guaranteed, other than the Masters and maybe the
yeah,
U.S. Open, I'm going to, because he's won those two, he's exempt to those. I think U.S. Open's up till 60 years old or something
yeah,
crazy, or
yeah.
that might be the PGA Championship. But he is in the Masters, so he'll always be there.
It's
So
just a cluster. It's just a cluster. And just showing that Sergio and these guys are trying to buy their way back, it just shows that, yeah, this was a fun opportunity, and Live could have been great. It just never, if it could have gotten on like a Fox or CBS and been on every week, like the PGA Tour, I think we would have been more into it. But for me to go find it on YouTube and then it's a NASCAR event and it's just so distracting, I never, the team thing honestly never took with me. I never was like, ooh, I'm into the Four Aces beating the Commandos and beating the Donkeys.
Well, this is what it goes back to the world ranking points and why there's an issue there is because now you're coming down the stretch,
Yeah,
okay, and you can make birdie and win the tournament,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
individually,
Right.
or you can make par and your team wins the tournament. So how aggressive
Uh,
are you going to play?
right,
Because if you make
right,
bogey, your team doesn't. If you
right,
play aggressively
right.
and you make bogey, your team doesn't win. And then the world ranking point people don't like that situation. They want
No,
you to go
no,
for it and try to make birdie to win the tournament. And that's where there's a big cluster there where they're getting
no.
into a frustration of like, we just don't like the way that you run your, we can't give you world ranking points because we just, first of all, you're not playing 72 holes. And again, there's a big argument out there where there's a lot of tours that are in the world that are under 54 holes and that get world ranking points, right?
Yeah.
Do I think they should be getting world ranking points? I do actually, but I
Why
don't think it
not?
should. But I
Who
don't
else
think
is
it
going to
should be.
get world
But I
ranking
don't think it should be
points?
big world ranking points.
Yeah,
I think they should be able to
percentage.
get something, right? But not a lot, right?
There's PGA Tour and there's Live. And I don't think you can say PGA Tour is better. I think you have more talent on Live. So at least Live should get 75% ranking points. But if Live, like you said, went to 72 holes, did their own
Right.
elevated events, maybe chilled on the team thing, which is so boring. I don't get the team thing. I don't understand it. I'm not into it. It's not fun. Like, oh, the Four Aces won. Who gives a shit? I want to see who wins the tournament.
Yeah.
So I feel like
And their argument now is because your argument would say, oh yeah, you also don't have a cut. Well,
right.
now you're going to look at the elevated events and say there's no cut there either.
That's
You
why
know,
they did that. And the elevated
so
events get world ranking points, don't they?
exactly because it's 72 holes too,
Yeah.
right?
So
And
that's
stroke
all they
play.
need to do is bump up one more hole and truthfully make a cut. If you can
Yeah,
pick one event a month or every other month, have a cut, like who cares? These guys are
yeah,
still getting guaranteed money. At
yeah,
least it'll make them play hard.
yeah. So
Yeah, that's
I,
very interesting. Oh my
you know,
gosh.
and you got a tour that's begging for sponsorships, and then you
Yeah,
got the live tour that doesn't have to have one sponsorship because
they don't
they have
need it.
money.
They
Like,
pump oil. That's all they need to
yeah,
do.
that's all they do is pump oil.
Tell
Yeah.
me
So,
about the two coolest things from the PGA tour show that you went to. You gave me updates. I posted your video from the
yeah.
Tomorrowland Goofy tour for Tiger and Rory. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
TGL. Yeah, I went to the
I'm
TGL. That and
trying
we'll
to
get
get into
yeah.
the TGL, but
Well,
it's so manufactured. It's just like, I don't know. But anyway,
the
go
the
back to
PGA
PGA.
the PGA show. I'll tell you one of the things that was quite interesting when you look at it. When you look at the soft goods area, right, which in that is going to be pretty much anything you wear, right,
Right,
is in
right.
the
Yeah.
soft good. There were 165 brands.
That's crazy.
And you're a pro shop and you only
Right.
have what to choose from, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
165 brands and just
Yes.
soft goods, right?
Yes, nuts.
Um, the simulator thing has gotten out of control, and so is the golf cart situation. I
Right.
mean, there are so many different types of golf carts
Right,
that
right,
and
right.
they're and believe me, a majority of them are, hey, you can sell this to your member, and he can drive it around his neighborhood and that kind of. I mean, it's
Right.
just a little bit of
Which is my
everything.
dream. I've never lived in a community like, where you live
Yeah,
down in South, where everybody, even at Torrey Pines the other day when we had a baseball game, everyone had their own cart. It's my
yeah,
dream in
yeah,
life,
yeah.
but it's just, there's just, I don't want to spend 30 grand for a
I
golf
mean,
cart. No
they had a
thanks.
golf cart that you could literally, it was so jacked up you could walk underneath it. I mean, yeah,
Come on.
you're
Come
like, what
on.
the hell is going on?
But it is cool.
And then the simulators. And when I talk about simulators, I talk about simulators that you can hit into that
Right.
gives you all your numbers.
Yeah.
You can hit into them and then you can putt out
Oh,
on them,
yes. I've heard of
right?
those. Yes.
And then
Yeah.
you have stuff like Putt View and these other ones that are having full simulators that are above you. That when you putt it, it shows you the line that you've hit your putt on.
Yeah.
So all of the simulator stuff is gotten really intense.
Here's what I
Um,
want. I want something I can take to the range, like the tour pros do to
yeah.
get my spin rate, my number, but I don't want to spend $10,000. Is there any you're seeing that are good and reasonably priced?
I never looked into the price,
Okay,
but I
gotcha.
just saw
Yeah.
one the other day that was quite interesting. It's the watch company too that
Yes, Garmin.
Garmin. That's
Yeah,
something to look
yeah.
at and see what that price is.
I
That
looked at that
that's
one. So they had three of them under 1,000, and Garmin was one of them. Because, with the short game chef Parker McLaughlin, our
yeah.
boy, like I'm keeping an eye on spin rate for chipping. So I'll have a lower shot, an open face shot, a higher spot, and he kind of has these numbers that he likes, and so and I want to get a little more better at that on the golf course because I feel like, if I'm dropping that out there in practice rounds and seeing what I'm carrying, what's the spin, what's the distance, I think that can be helpful.
Yeah. Then you walk along kind of the parameter of the place, right?
Right,
And
right,
the people that are like in no man's land,
right. The bo-
and you and the
the
people that
dodgy stuff.
spent over $10,000 to be in that thing for a 10 by
Unbelievable.
10, and you're
Yes.
looking at them going, how that tee is not going to give me 5 extra yards. I mean, but you're
No,
telling me that tee is
no.
going to give me five. Like,
Yeah,
are you surviving in
yeah,
this
yeah.
building? Like it really, like you don't.
Well,
There
you're
was
in
like
sales. You tell me, is it because eventually they'll get into Roger Dunn and then that's it? They make money. I mean, how do they make
or
money?
they have a gimmick, right? I think a lot of them, if it's some type of a widget, let's just
Right,
say
right,
a
right.
widget that starts to get traction, they hope
Yeah.
that Callaway buys them or TaylorMade buys them, and they go,
That's
that kind of.
exactly right.
But I
Yes,
mean,
yes.
how many widgets are out there? It's
There's a
just,
lot of
I'm like, you're
widgets.
just like sitting there going, this is nuts, right?
Well, the years when I was
Um,
an agent and I would go, I remember seeing the golf ball where they took out the middle of the golf ball and you would putt that thing, and never took off and all this crazy weird stuff that, like you said, it's never going to make it.
Yeah, so there's a lot of, and then there's a whole big fitness area now.
Yeah,
Golf fitness is really big
that's
too.
big. That's
So we
big.
were actually, I'm with Hyper Ice, so that was really a big popular. We were very, we signed a deal with Nike, so we're
Yeah.
now coming out with a massage boot, with heat and stuff. But that's not going to be.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Nike's going to launch it first. We're not going to pretty much launch it probably till my customers won't get it probably till Christmas.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Ankle and high
But
ankle
but
too.
then you look at our competitor Theragun, right? Not
Yeah.
even at the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know if that's what direction they're going, but it's not looking good for them. But so that's, and then on that Sunday, the Sunday after the show was over, I was able to go down and view and look at the TGL, which is
Right.
the new league, right?
Tomorrow Golf
And
League. Stupid name. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So a couple things that I took right off the bat is one, and I saw this on Instagram, but Tiger has signed a deal with Full Swing, I think it is.
Right.
I've been told that that's like third or fourth best when it comes to
Okay.
technology.
Gotcha.
Um, I noticed like in the very beginning,
I think that's what our boy Trotty uses is full swing, right?
probably.
Yeah.
I saw Trotty at the show.
I know
Yeah,
you
I
told me
saw
that.
Trotty.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, by the way, influencers everywhere walking around, everywhere. I
Gotta
mean,
be.
everywhere,
Gotta
right?
be. Well, that's the
Um,
hottest part of golf right now. Since both tours suck, it's Fat Perez and it's the good guys and all. That's what's really
well,
popular right
so,
now.
and I know we got to get back to the TGL situation, but again, what I'm finding out about golf, right? So this
Yeah.
TGL, right,
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
Tuesdays, you think about it, right? What's their competition? The
Right.
NBA, right? The NBA is their only competition on TV.
Right.
It's only going to go until April, right? So once the Masters hits, it's over with. So that'll be done. It's on Monday or Tuesday, which is slow nights for sports, anyways, right?
Right.
So it's got itself a good position,
Yeah.
but um and it's a crazy situation. So it's on a college campus.
What?
Okay, yeah, it's like on
Okay.
a college campus.
All right.
I found out that the people of the town, the county and city or whatever, they wanted no part of this thing. Okay,
Okay. All
and they
right.
had to fight, and I have a feeling it was just like, where do you want us to write a check to what charity? And it kind of probably went away,
All
right? So they built this
right.
complex, because the first thing I said to them, I go, oh, is this the old gym? And they're
Yeah.
like, no, 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 this was just dirt. And they built this thing from scratch, right?
All right. All right. All right.
So you go into the whole thing, right? And you find out that the TGL on Monday and Tuesday, whenever they have it, right? I think it's Tuesdays they have it,
Yeah.
right? Is the viewing is absolutely murdering Sunday golf Like it's not even close,
Oh, I can
right?
see that. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
not even
yeah,
close, except
yeah,
for if it's an elevated event, right?
yeah,
Or
yeah,
maybe the waste management or something that's fun.
yeah.
But it was going against Torrey Pines, right, on
Right.
Sun,
Yeah.
and it absolutely blew it out of the water when it
Oh my
came to
gosh.
from numbers, right?
Yeah.
So um, so I went around and I checked it all out, and it's pretty fantastic. It holds 1,500 people.
Right.
Everybody has a great seat.
Yeah.
Um, the seats are all kind of like the chair that you're sitting in. They're
Right.
all really nice, right? They
Have
have
you
these little
watched it, by the
suites.
way? Have you watched it on
Uh-huh. Oh
TV?
yeah. Oh
Okay.
yeah.
What do you
Yeah.
think about
But
watching it? Do you think it's
well,
interesting?
I did like it because it was
Okay.
2 hours. It was done. It was
Yeah, that's
quick,
true.
right?
That is
That's what
true.
I like
Yeah.
about it. It's quick, right?
Yeah.
And but I don't know. Like when you go back to the technology, I remember Fitzpatrick hit a bunker shot and he
Yeah.
came up like 30 yards short in the water, and he looked over
No.
at his guys and go,
No.
"I didn't hit it
No.
that bad,"
I don't
you
think the
know. And
technology's there. I see a lot of guys hit shots pure and they land 20 yards short and they're looking like, and look, when I watched Tiger play, I mean, their team got destroyed. So
yeah,
it's just like
but
it's kind of a
right.
made for TV goofy
So,
thing. I don't
so
think
the
I don't
first 2 weeks did not help because there were blowouts.
correct.
The third
Yes.
week with Tiger, he won in a chip off. They
Oh,
won
I
in a
didn't
chip
see
off,
that one.
and
Okay,
it was really
gotcha.
good, right? It
Okay,
was
yeah.
they won 4-3. It was like
Okay.
back and forth, and
That's
they had to
better.
take
Yeah.
it into a chip off, and all
Yeah.
three guys chip and blah blah blah, right?
Yeah.
They have a whole behind the scenes locker room, right? We're talking
Okay.
locker room. We're
Yeah.
talking. They have full gym in there.
Who'd you
They
go with?
have
McGinley or
yeah.
yeah.
McGinley brought me so
Yeah,
because
I
he
like
is the
that.
liaison between Rory's team and the sponsors,
That's right. Yes,
right?
yes, yes,
So then we
yes.
go in and they have simulators back there. So these
Oh,
guys are
okay.
actually playing the holes way prior to going out. Now you walk into this arena and that screen is probably larger than your eucalyptus trees on your golf course. This
I
thing is
know. It looks like
massive.
it.
It
Yes,
is
yes.
massive.
Yeah.
And what you don't know is when you're watching them hit into the screen, there is a 7 foot drop off that you don't
Okay.
see that goes
Is
down,
that where the
right?
balls
Where the
go?
balls collect,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. It seems
And
like it's very well done. I saw a show about how they grow the grass. They pick it up with a forklift, take it outside, they save it for the next week, all this
yeah.
shit. So that's
And then
kind of
they have
interesting.
600 they have 600 lifts underneath
Right.
that jacks that can move that green.
The putting
Okay,
green, that's probably the coolest thing of the whole deal is the putting green.
so the
Yeah.
putting green, what I thought was a little bit gnarly because there's seams in that thing. You just can't do a big circle, right, and keep it that way. So there's seams in it, right?
Yeah.
So that because that's how they had to make it.
Yeah.
Very soft. It's very soft, like when you
Gotcha.
feel it,
Okay.
right? Because it's
Yeah.
got to hold shots and chip
Yeah.
shots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay. When I went in there, I looked at. I went by myself. You saw the video that I posted,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
posted it
I
for us.
posted it. Yeah.
I first thing I said was like, you have no chance to make anything outside 10 feet on the screen. There's
No.
just no chance.
Although Ludwig did make a 40-footer one time. I saw. Yeah.
Again, it is pure luck, okay? Because the first week I saw three major champions
Yeah.
go, it's going right, and
Yeah.
then it goes left, right?
Yeah.
Like these. So I think because the footprints and the softness of it and all this kind of
Yes.
stuff,
Yes.
and the
Yes.
moving of the jacks,
Yeah.
I just don't think when you say it's right edge, it's right edge. I think it's just.
Yeah.
And by the way, the swales are really steep. I mean,
Yeah.
they're
You can
really steep.
tell.
There's not gradual. It's really steep, so it goes up and down and down and
It's like it's a little bit of just like a goofy hit and giggle format. You know what I mean? Like it's not like I'm looking for like great golf shots. It's more like having some of the better players, which there are not many on the PGA Tour, get together. Like, and by the way, why don't you bring in a guest team from Live? How fun would that be? One event,
They
bring
don't
in
want to share, dude. They just don't want to share.
they're
The tour
they're
just
killing
doesn't want
themselves. They're killing themselves.
because
Like,
they're getting the sponsors for that thing. They don't
well, for
need. They don't
that
want to
thing
share
they
their money.
are.
Yeah,
Yes.
they are.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
guys are probably making $50,000 a day to play in that thing, right?
More than that, dude.
No,
More
I'm just
than
saying that
that.
their
Yeah.
probably salaries 50 grand, and then they get probably
Yeah.
as winning.
Oh no, the each of them is
Um,
getting millions to play that
yeah.
because otherwise, why would you take the time to do that? No,
And
no
not
way.
just that, the hard thing is like, so I saw Keegan Bradley, and it was
Yeah,
just after the farmers, and I said, how was Torrey? He goes, that golf course is so hard. I am so, he goes, let alone it's blowing 30 and they're
Yeah,
having to water the greens out. And then
yeah,
all of a sudden on Sunday, he goes, it's 50 degrees and it's
yeah.
blowing 30.
It's been cold in
He goes,
SoCal, as you know,
I am
lately.
exhausted. He goes,
Yeah.
I'm exhausted.
Well,
And
also, again, his peak was a little bit while ago, so he's kind of not the modern Xander, Scotty, Rory guy. He's a little older, you
but
know.
he
It's
came
not,
in 15th. I mean,
I
but
know, no,
again,
no,
he came in 15th. Yeah,
yeah.
but he lost to Luke Clanton and Lanto Griffin and
Who?
Danny. Exactly. So, um,
Oh my
but
gosh.
getting back to it, the guys like it. The guys
Yeah.
like it. They think it's
Okay.
really cool. And
All
what the
right.
first thing they do is they don't worry about hitting balls in the screens or going back. They go all chip. They need to because the chip does not
Okay,
stop.
got you.
They hit
Yeah.
these chip shots that they think have spin on it, and it takes off. It's
Yeah.
really hard. But overall, it was really cool. I think it's got legs.
All right.
But what does that thing do from April to December 31st? I
Right.
have no idea. I
Is
mean,
it only
I
built for TGL? Is that it?
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
wow, that's
So
crazy.
I'm thinking, okay, do you have companies come in and say, hey, we're going to do a bonding, session here, and we can have this whole thing, and
Yeah.
maybe I could see a stage being built in that 7 foot little hole there to where you
Right.
could have a small concert in there. I don't know what I feel that they're still probably trying to figure it all out, but
Well, what they should do is
um,
do what Petco did, which is open it to the public. You can come pay money and do a little chip and hit and giggle kind of thing.
yeah, I mean, it's built for tour players, so I could see guys shanking balls and breaking things, and I don't know.
That's
So,
a good point. That's a
yeah.
good point. Yeah. Oh my
So,
gosh.
unless they're going to put up netting around it and all that kind of stuff
Well,
to
let's
protect some
keep an
things.
eye out. If
Yeah.
if somebody like Sergio plays a DP World event, or if we hear some shenanigans, let's come back on and do another Chumps chat. But I think
Yeah.
this is the make or break year. If they don't bring Live and PGA Tour together, I think there's going to be more money lost. I think, all these investments into the capital fund and all this stuff for the PGA Tour, they're not getting their money back. I guess they're just
Yeah.
doing it because they're billionaires, but like they're not going to get a return on, unless we get Live and PGA Tour back together. And I'm not optimistic, but, we'll see what happens and
I
be
I
interesting.
do want because I never got to talk to you about it. So, you were very close to the destruction up there.
Yeah.
Near the Palisades. So I
Yeah.
was just wondering. I know you got evacuated,
Yeah.
but thank goodness you were able to keep everything intact. But what was your experience?
It was brutal. It was more just the unknown. Like we packed and unpacked, 10 or 12 times, two kids with cars, dog, this, that. Where do we put? What do you evacuate? What really means stuff to you? Like it's funny, I walked around the house, I'm like, I could lose most of this and be fine. Like,
Hmm.
as you get older, you're like, I mean, my kids are filling their car with all their clothes. I'm like, guys, we're just evacuating to Marina Del Rey. We're not going to Mexico. Like, Banana Republic is still open down there. So, but it was the fire fatigue because we're in Brentwood and it was like, morning, evening, constant watching the news, waking up at 3 a.m. Do I smell smoke? This, and finally we got evacuated, midweek in Brentwood and went to the marina. Our whole neighborhood was down there, and I probably know 30 people that lost their homes, and then through secondhand people, there's probably 300 in the golf community. A lot of Lakeside, Bel Air, LA, Brentwood guys lost their houses, and that's kind of our world. So
Hmm.
it's horrible. I mean, look, we have a horrible mayor, we have a horrible governor, and the whole thing where, this one guy interviewed a firefighter who's like, we're up fighting the beginning of the Palisades fire. We have no water. So,
Yeah.
how, Palisades, they did a story. They spend $500 million in property taxes every year, 500 million, and you can't have good water up there. And then, the lady who runs the reservoir, LA Water
Hmm.
makes 800 grand a year and had the reservoir empty during fire season,
Yeah.
for some working on the tarp or whatever, so it's just look, we're learning through all the stuff, that's happening lately that, we spend a lot of money on the stupid stuff. We don't have great governance. People have been getting away with murder for too long, just, doing it certain ways. So that hurt the most. I mean, I know it was a horrible, tornado of fire in the Palisades, but just to not have the resources, you got a firefighter sitting there with no water to spray in the Palisades early on. It's crazy. Crazy,
Do
yeah.
you have you gone for a walk or drove up and
No,
looked at it? Yeah, I
you
don't know
can't
if you
get up
can.
to some of those areas. When a friend of mine, she has a condo up there, her and her family in the Highlands, and they are not allowed to live there yet to this day
Can
because
you even go check on your place
they
to
can go
see if they
check and they have certain times they can go and get stuff out, but the ash and all the harsh chemicals and the runoff from all the fire is so bad up there that, and also the other thing my buddy told me, his house survived, on a street of houses that didn't survive. And he goes, do I want to live here in the ghost town? With no services, there's nothing up here, all the grocery
inhaling all that
stores.
stuff?
Yeah. And so it's, it's horrible. We're very blessed to have our house saved, and these firefighters and these pilots are absolute heroes. Even though
Yeah,
their budget was cut $29 million by
yeah,
Karen Bass, the genius, but I think it's very tough. I think one chief said, "Look, even if I had the perfect water and everything, we couldn't have stopped this tornado that much faster."
it
He
was a
said,
perfect storm for sure. Yeah,
well, he said if there's one house on fire, it's like a 3 or 4 alarm fire. So that's 3 or 4 engines. And if every house is on fire, that's 12,000 engines. We don't have that in the state of California. So
yeah.
there is a point where um, you can't stop it. But yeah, thanks for asking. I was the lucky one. It was very stressful, but I had a bunch of buddies who lost houses, and Chris Hetherington, who we may have on from Lakeside, he was renting a house up there, and he played in the NFL for 12 years, and so
Hmm.
all his stuff gone. So he's
Wow.
evacuated to San Diego, and he's just like, I don't know if I'm ever coming back. And it's the ultimate discussion. We have it all the time. Like, should we move? Where do we go? And I'm like, well, I grew up in Texas, and it was a tornado once a month during tornado season right over that area. You
Hmm.
live in Florida, you have 3 hurricanes a year. So I don't know where you would go just to avoid this, but I feel like there's a lot of mismanagement. They say maybe it was an electrical thing with PG&E that started the fire, and they hadn't done, tree trimming and brush clearance in 50 years.
So that was
So
the one thing that I saw that
yeah,
you're going after these insurance companies, and the insurance companies back out because they're throwing drones up in the air, and they're coming back to the homeowner and going, look at it, I want to support you, but your city and your county and your state is not cleaning any of this stuff
no,
up,
no.
and we will support you if this gets cleaned up. So I can't. I can't. Like
Well, I'm
I
playing
understand.
with Scotty Cameron. We have our little monthly game, and he's got a house, up kind of in the mountains and Carlsbad area down there. And State Farm, after 27 years, canceled him, and they're like, it's too risky. So these insurance, especially State Farm, they're the one that's really pulled out. But a lot of these companies just are like, we know something's going to happen, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. So it's it's brutal, but I feel like a lot of communities pulled together. We really got to see what the heroes in our
Yeah.
fire department and the pilots, especially, really the pilots in these brush
Oh,
fires.
it's
I mean,
unbelievable.
there you didn't have a ton of trucks doing stuff. I mean, they did a lot, but like it was those DC-10s and those
Yeah.
lunatics like flying
Yeah.
a 737 20 feet off the ground. I mean, it was really
Yeah.
amazing. So, yeah, it just kind of gives you a little reality check. And I'm buying another safe just to put a few more things in because I'm
Hmm.
just like, your insurance doesn't cover all fire damage. It covers theft, but not all fire. And so I'm like, like I said, a lot of the stuff I can live without, but there's just a few things that I want to be
Hmm.
able to throw in a fire safe that can burn
Yeah.
for an hour and a half and flink it shut.
Yeah. 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 Okay.
All right.
All
Well, let's
right.
let's
Good to be
catch up
back. And
soon.
yeah, and we're gonna have to get some guests on here. That's for sure. So
Yeah, I love it. All right.
yeah,
Thanks,
welcome back.
gentlemen. All
All right.
right.
See you,
See you,
bud.
bye.